Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my official review of WrestleMania 41 Night 1. I literally just finished the show, so there is a lot to talk about, and I have a lot of emotions that I just need to get out. I will say this show was rather uneven. It had some fairly low lows, but some ridiculously high highs, some highs that I think are going to be worth talking about for potentially years to come. So we're going to go through things match by match. I'm going to tell you what I liked, what I didn't like, did I agree with the booking decisions, and I'm going to tell you where I think things can go from here. Now, I did make a more in-depth review with footage so that you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about over on the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, we're also going to be releasing our Night 2 review as well with footage, so go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap, link in the description, as well as a link in the pinned comment. There's also a whole bunch of content over there that we can just never post here because they would just block it due to copyright. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's jump into things. Let's start things off by talking about the World Heavyweight Championship match between Jey Uso and Gunther. Here's the thing, going into this match, I feel like I can say with a decent level of confidence that this was maybe the most predictable outcome. I always believed that Jey Uso was going to win and that he should win, and I'm glad that WWE gave him the win, because if they gave us another rug pull from another Jey Uso championship victory, I don't think that people would have taken him seriously again as a main event level threat. So Jey Uso is your new world heavyweight champion, and it has a ton of people divided. I am not one of those people. I am glad that Jey Uso won, and you might think otherwise because I have been, let's face it, rather critical of the feud, but I've always wanted Jey Uso to be world champion, and I'm glad that we're finally at this stage. We had Jey Uso getting the grandiose WrestleMania entrance, and it was fun seeing the juxtaposition compared to Gunther, who just went out there like just all business, nothing fancy about his WrestleMania entrance. Now, from the actual technical perspective of this match, I will say that this isn't like some sort of Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels gem, but I really liked the in-ring portion of this match because it told a really cohesive story that was really easy to get behind. This was a Jey Uso that for the first time in a long time was bringing out every single trick in the playbook that he could possibly get his hands on. It wasn't just super kick, spear, and then splash. We had a Jey Uso that was trying to meet the ring general move for move, bar for bar in the ring. This is Jey Uso's best singles match of his entire career, albeit nowhere near Gunther's best singles match of his career. So basically what I'm trying to say is that I think from an in-ring perspective, this was a really good Jey Uso match in a pretty average Gunther match. But the story that was being told physically with their moves, with the type of confidence that Jey Uso had in the ring, the lack of confidence that Gunther had, to me was telling a really, really easy to follow and easy to get behind narrative. We also saw Jey Uso that was not afraid to go beat for beat with Gunther's chops, a Jey Uso that was literally laughing and smiling and relishing the opportunity to hit Gunther right back. And that, when I saw Jey smiling when they were locked up slapping each other, that's honestly right there when the match won me over. I was also won over by the fact that Jey Uso literally only used 2 super kicks in the whole match, and they were there towards the end. Like I said, this was maybe the most technical, like savvy Jey Uso match that I've ever seen. I know that there is a lot of people currently talking and debating specifically about that finish with Jey Uso hitting 4 splashes, some super kicks, a spear, and then sleeping Gunther with his own sleeper hold. Well, technically he didn't sleep him. In fact, some people think that it's worse because Gunther insta-tapped out. I personally like the instant tap out because it reminds me of when Gunther lost the NXT UK Championship to Ilya Dragunov, where he also just insta-tapped out. I think the insta-tap out in this situation works. A lot of people are worried that Gunther is buried. I promise you he's not. He's going to be just fine. This guy just got re-signed. He's getting a tour bus. Clearly, WWE has a very clear future for Gunther even in this loss. It's almost as if Gunther is now taking on the Triple H role. Like, Triple H is a glorified loser at WrestleMania. The man has an awful record at WrestleMania, and so far Gunther seems to be falling down that track as well, currently being 0-2, but I think it's just because Gunther is just the perfect villain to end your story against at WrestleMania. So between choosing what I think is the correct winner, between also giving us what I thought was a much better match that I thought we were actually going to get. A finish that, albeit a little bit controversial, I was kind of down with. Overall, I'm just happy that they gave the decision to Jey Uso and gave him the title. We did see Jey Uso celebrate after the match ended with Jimmy Uso. That was a great moment as well. A moment that I kind of wanted, but with Jimmy Uso winning the US title earlier on in the night, that's something that I was fantasy booking for a really long time. But we have Jey Uso, new World Heavyweight Champion. I'm going to give this a thumbs up, although I will honestly, I'm not going to go to bat for it if you didn't like it, because I can see why people didn't like how this ended and don't like that Jey Uso won, but I did. Then we move on to the New Day versus the War Raiders for the Tag Team Championships. And this was exactly what I thought it was going to be. A good match that no one cares about. A match that would have been better served being on the night after WrestleMania. Look, the New Day won the world titles. I feel like that was ultimately the correct choice. However, this would have been a much more better suited result in the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, and honestly would have just been better received by fans online and by fans in the arena had it happened on the Raw after WrestleMania. Because the New Day and the War Raiders put on about as good a match as they could possibly put on. Nothing majestic, nothing that was going to steal the show, but certainly not anything that was bad. I feel like the biggest crime is the fact that nothing special happened in this match. In fact, we got to see right through the veil as to why this match was even on here. This was just a giant glorified advertisement for Clash Royale or whatever the hell that game is. We had the War Raiders going out there cosplaying as characters from Clash Royale. Listen, like that stuff's completely over my head. I have no idea who they're trying to be. They look like guys that were cosplaying about to go on a RuneScape hunt for leveling up their wood cutting. I like RuneScape, all right? I played a lot of it and I had my 99 wood cutting. But this was just a glorified advertisement, and that to me is just so discouraging and disheartening to see that this match, because it was an ad spot, got this WrestleMania spot over the match that definitely deserved to be on WrestleMania. At this point, there's no point crying over spilled milk when it comes to the SmackDown Tag Team division, because that ship has clearly sailed. I will say the decision was correct. The match was fine, but I could not give two singular fucks. I cannot find the fucks to give about this match. So if you want to skip this, skip it. This is an entirely skippable match. You can just watch the quick highlights. I'm going to give this a thumbs down because this wasn't a Mania match, man. Let's move on to Jade Cargill versus Naomi in just a singles match. And I really, really enjoyed this. First of all, we had a Naomi that has a brand new look and a brand new entrance theme, an entrance theme that isn't garbage. I was so concerned that she was going to get a new entrance theme with, instead of spelling Naomi, they were going to be spelling caution or be cautious, and then the music hits. You know how Def Rebel is. They tend to just add stupid shit at the beginning of entrance themes, but this is just a good metal rock song that really fits this new character. So big W with the decision on the new entrance theme. I feel like this was a good coming out party for both Naomi as a heel, but also Jade Cargill. I was a little bit apprehensive at first about Jade Cargill having an extended match without having somebody to rely on like a Bianca Belair in a tag team environment. I will say I do feel at least like Naomi really carried the pace of this match and really carried the spots for the most part, but I feel like Jade Cargill was a good dancing partner for Naomi, who was guiding the match. They both had awesome offense. Like truly, there were some jaw-dropping moves that I still don't know how they managed to pull those off. There was this insane counter into a powerbomb by Jade Cargill that I'm still floored as to how that managed to even work. There was an awesome counter on the top rope into a top rope bulldog by Naomi. Naomi really was in her bag. She really was the anchor for this match, but I don't want to take that away from Jade Cargill, because Jade Cargill was again a really great sparring partner from an in-ring perspective with Naomi. So I really liked the match. I thought it was fun. It was clean. They both came out looking better than they went in. I feel like they made the right choice having Jade Cargill win in a way that Naomi also looks strong. There is literally zero to dislike about this match. The only thing that you might dislike is if you dislike either of the performers. That I can't really help. I'm just so happy that they were able to finish this on a high note, because this was honestly the cleanest, best feud going into WrestleMania. They hadn't had a single misstep step. They hadn't had a single bad promo, a single bad segment, and I was kind of concerned that it was going to get all sullied and muddied by a bad match. And I'm happy to tell you that it wasn't a bad match. It is absolutely a good match. And up until this point, it was my favorite match of the night, even with Jey Uso winning the World Championship. So this is a thumbs up.
This is unreal. This is so good.
Oh my God.
Dude, here we go.
Man, there it is.
That's what we live for. That's a good moment. That was beautiful. Psych! That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club WrestleMania edition, available exclusively on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week we're looking at Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, Bloodline Rules WrestleMania 40. God damn it, it's just as good as I remembered. The legendary match between The Rock and Hollywood Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 18. The technical classic between Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 19. The WrestleMania 23 Money in the Bank ladder match. And part 3 of the trilogy that was Stone Cold versus The Rock at WrestleMania 19. You'll be getting all of these, plus all the other matches that we've already done, plus the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, the currently ongoing and almost done Undertaker WrestleMania match review, the currently ongoing Royal Rumble reviews that we're doing, and so much more, all over on patreon.com/SantiZap. This is all content that we can never upload to YouTube because it would just get blocked due to copyright anyway because we use real footage. So go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap. I am confident that if you try it even for just 1 month for this WrestleMania season, that you're going to fall in love with the content and the community. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support. Now let's get you back to the video. Now let's talk about Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight for the WWE United States Championship. I think that there was a huge grouping of people, including myself to a degree, that thought that this was ultimately going to end up being a squash match. I'm happy to tell you that it wasn't a squash match. It actually went about 10 minutes and it was really good. Some would say that if it wasn't for the main event, that it was the best match of the night, and I'm kind of inclined to agree. This was LA Knight's best match of his WWE career. I think it was better than the Crown Jewel Championship match that he had against Roman Reigns. I think it was better than the triple threat match that he had against Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. I think it's better than the Fatal 4-Way with AJ Styles, Roman Reigns, and Randy Orton. I think this was the best performance of LA Knight's career, and Jacob Fatu also looked like $1 million. I think this was also Jacob Fatu's best match of his short WWE career. They had impeccable chemistry with one another. Their moves with one another were just flowing so perfectly. There was also just an incredible moment that I did not think they were going to land, with Jacob Fatu doing a springboard moonsault and then getting caught midair into a BFT. That is something that you can only land if you are just perfectly in sync with your opponent. And that is the best visual representation, that these guys just had perfect chemistry with each other. Jacob Fatu looked like a beast in this without making LA Knight look weak. This was the perfect balance, in my opinion, where you need to make Jacob Fatu your next big bad of the mid card. You need to make him look strong in this win, but you also don't want to bury LA Knight in the process, something that many of us thought was going to happen. So huge kudos to whoever came up with the choreography of this match, because you successfully created a new megastar in the mid-card scene in Jacob Fatu, while also keeping the heights of popularity, and you didn't bury LA Knight, who I think can go on to do potentially bigger things. Off of the back of this performance, I wouldn't hate him going after a world title, honestly. Jacob Fatu is obviously the correct choice. I can only assume that beyond this, it's probably going to be Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. There was no shenanigans from Solo Sikoa, but I still believe that that's the next natural progression for this feud for Jacob Fatu. Now let's go to El Grande Americano against Rey Fenix. So in case you missed last episode of Friday Night SmackDown, Rey Mysterio suffered what I think is a very real injury, at least real enough to keep him off of WrestleMania. And last minute, they put in Rey Fenix. And honestly, WWE is so lucky that they created created some at least microcosm of a feud between El Grande Americano and Rey Fenix the night before WrestleMania, only to set up like that 6-man tag match. But that to me was enough to at least pivot to Rey Fenix in a way that made logical sense. I know a lot of people wanted Dragon Lee. I think Dragon Lee makes sense as well. It does kind of suck that Dragon Lee has now gone back-to-back WrestleManias getting the shaft for somebody brand new, also coming from AEW. Last year Andrade, this year Rey Fenix. At some point, Dragon Lee needs to turn on Rey Mysterio, right? Like he needs to be another one of the statistics that takes out Rey. Anyway, we had what I thought was maybe my favorite entrance at this year's WrestleMania, like El Grande Americano coming out to a masked mariachi ensemble who were wearing Grande Americano masks. Before it, we had an AI dub of El Grande Americano speaking. It's weird that he has a Latino accent considering he's American. Either way, I loved it. I was cackling laughing. I was like sweating and gut busting laughing at how funny the entrance was and how funny the pre-match little AI voice dub was. This match also served as a little bit of a commercial, but for something a little bit more, not a little bit, a lot more wrestling oriented, as WWE has shockingly acquired AAA, one of the biggest promotions in Mexico. In fact, in the front row of this match, they had AAA's biggest star, Hijo del Vikingo, who, by the way, if you've never seen anything from Hijo del Vikingo, just do a quick Google search. You will see that he is one of the nuttiest professional wrestlers that you will ever see. The dude can do stuff that literally makes no sense with the laws of gravity. But the match between El Grande Americano and Rey Fenix was fantastic. Like it really was very, very good. This was the best of Lucha Libre, if you can believe it, because El Grande Americano, for as much of a meme of a character he is, he's a good luchador, like genuinely a good luchador. This dude pulled out a reverse 450, so moonsault with an extra spin. What the hell? But he also still brought in that like great technical savvy wrestling with some great suplexes, and like the headbutts with the metal plate did come back into the equation, and it is what helped El Grande Americano win. But Rey Fenix, even in this loss, like I think he looked like $1 million. I think it's so cool that Rey Fenix, only like 3 weeks into his WWE run, is already having a WrestleMania match. Like that to me, it's just such a huge vote of confidence from WWE to this brand new guy that they got from AEW. El Grande Americano and Rey Fenix, they had a great match. Some really cool high flying spots, or just like nutty things that you just like, how do you manage to pull that off? They had great chemistry with one another. For the fact that this is a last minute match as well, like you need to think about that. They didn't have any time to prepare this. They basically had to do this on the fly, and on the fly they put on a Lucha Libre classic. Now El Grande Americano did pick up the victory, and I'm curious, had Rey Mysterio not gotten hurt, would El Grande Americano still have walked out the winner? I don't know. I really thought that Rey Mysterio was going to win, but I guess they're going to continue this storyline with El Grande Americano, who's under the mask, with AAA now announcing WWE x AAA, the show called Worlds Collide. I could see maybe them doing a show in Mexico City where El Grande Americano is the big bad guy of that show, and there he gets unmasked. That would be an interesting way to really cement this, not partnership, full-blown acquisition of WWE, TKO, and AAA. As far as Rey Fenix, this changes nothing for Rey Fenix. He's still going to continue to like build up his stock. I don't think that this means he's now part of the LWO or anything like that. The match did end with Hijo del Vikingo helping up Rey Fenix, but that's about it. I think it was just, hey, look at AAA. That's it. But I don't think that really meant anything. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But yeah, El Grande Americano wins. We still are going to continue the legacy of the greatest luchador of all time, clearly. Now let's go to Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship. This is one of those matches that I'm just like severely disappointed in. I feel like when you watch this match, there's things that you can like, but for me at least, the majority of this match was not very good. I said in my stream that this is one of those matches that I have literally zero interest in ever going back to rewatch. These two, in my opinion, put on, I don't even want to say stinker. I feel like the right word. And to a degree, this is even more of an insult, a boring match. It was boring and it was really sloppy. And I'm really disappointed in that because I really felt like them delivering a great match was the saving grace of this feud. It was the saving grace to let us walk away with a good image of Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair as a WWE storyline and feud, because we know that the story leading into WrestleMania was just bad. It didn't work. But I always said, and I said it to you guys, at least the match will be fantastic. And I think that pretty much everyone was on board with that these two, even if they had real life differences during promos, that they were going to put that aside to put on an excellent match so that they could both look good. But honestly, they were just oil and water. There was zero chemistry with them. Whenever Charlotte was zigging, we had Tiffany zagging the other way. Their moves felt delayed. It felt like they were just sort of waiting around for the other person to do the thing that they're supposed to do. The punches just sort of looked pulled back. Sometimes they look stiff. The big spots, like the big natural selection, looked like they missed. This really was just not it. And the chat in the big watch along that we were doing that had like a record number of people pretty much universally agreed that this was oof. It was just not very good. I will say the presentation of everything going into here, Charlotte Flair getting a big fancy car entrance, getting the pyro. Tiffany Stratton got one of the cooler entrances at WrestleMania with her being in a Barbie box and there being multiple versions of Tiffany Stratton. That was really cool as well. And the decision to have Tiffany Stratton, I think we can all agree, was the correct decision. WWE made the right call in the wake of what unfortunately was, I want to say, the worst match of the night. Look, at least War Raiders and New Day, as meaningless of a match as it was, at least they worked well together. Tiffany and Charlotte unfortunately did not, and that's really unfortunate. I don't want to see Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair continue this feud. I really don't. I want them to move on. Charlotte Flair go do something else, maybe change them from shows. Tiffany Stratton, I don't know what they're going to do with her. Maybe she needs to actually like definitively beat Nia Jax. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the pivot for Tiffany Stratton. I have no interest in seeing this ever again. And now let's talk about the main event. The reason why you probably clicked on this and the reason why so many people are going to walk out with a really, really positive memory of night one. Seth Rollins defeating Roman Reigns and CM Punk in the main event triple threat match, with Paul Heyman betraying not just CM Punk, but also betraying Roman Reigns and aligning himself with Seth Rollins. And oh my God, do I have questions. Seth Rollins got a cool entrance. Roman Reigns always has a pretty grandiose entrance. And then CM Punk, that entrance stole the show with a fantastic performance from Living Color. They are just phenomenal live. They did a great live performance at WrestleMania 29, and I think they actually topped it this time around. The match had multiple different stops. All right. So the beginning of the match saw Seth Rollins and CM Punk on the outside beating each other with trash cans and chairs in the arena with the stands with the people. We had Roman Reigns doing a giant leap over the barricade to take them both out. Now, once the match gets back into the ring, it almost feels like we go into 20 minutes of just insane kickouts, especially on Roman Reigns' side, who got hit with literally every finisher imaginable known to man in combination, in sequence, and this man just kept kicking out at 2.999. This was, by all accounts, my favorite type of triple threat. For the most part, it was all three guys in the ring exchanging offense with one another, especially in the final 15 minutes, where all three of them are exchanging offense, but most of the offense that they're exchanging are finishers, whether it's signatures like Superman punches, like pedigrees. We had Anaconda Vices, we had guillotines, of course we have stomps, GTSs, spears. All of it was just being interchanged and interlaced with one another for the last 12 minutes of this match, and all of them kicked out from everything. It got a little bit ridiculous, but I'm like, shit, yeah, dude, I'm in. Give me a finisher fest. I love finisher fest. And then there is stage 3 of the match. To me, it starts when Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns decide to maybe team up together to powerbomb CM Punk, only for Roman Reigns to say, screw you. He powerbombs CM Punk through the announce table. First time we've seen that table actually break. And then he also powerbombs Seth Rollins through the announce table. It was good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Call back to the Shield, but also Roman saying, I am not ever joining and aligning with Seth Rollins regardless of the situation. situation. And then the big moment, of course, is when there is a moment of weakness amongst everyone. Paul Heyman brings in a chair, and you don't know who he's going to give it to, and he gives it to CM Punk. As soon as CM Punk is going to hit Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman low blows CM Punk to the disbelief and love of Roman Reigns, who was laughing his ass off maniacally, who then beats CM Punk with the chair. And then Paul Heyman says, "Look, my tribal chief, it's perfect. He's right there for you, my tribal chief." Seth Rollins by the ropes in the perfect position to get hit by Roman Reigns, Plan B style. And as soon as he's about to hit him, Paul Heyman reveals his card and low blows Roman Reigns, turning on both CM Punk and Roman Reigns and actually aligning himself with Seth Rollins. That's something that I didn't think was going to happen. I thought that CM Punk and Roman Reigns at some point were going to fight over Paul Heyman, and that would open up a gateway for Seth Rollins to pick up the victory, because I did predict Seth Rollins would win, but I really did not see Seth Rollins actually walking out as the next Paul Heyman guy. I really genuinely did not see that coming. And then Seth Rollins, with the same chair, takes out Roman Reigns, hits him with a stomp. 1, 2, 3. That's it. That's all she wrote. Seth Rollins wins the main event and walks out with Paul Heyman. And holy hell. This opens up like just so many questions, right? Like, is this a one night thing? Why did Paul Heyman align with him? Is this something to do with The Rock? Because Paul Heyman and The Rock have a thing. Will we see this version of Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman in the main event of night 2? Woo! I genuinely, I'm on the edge of my seat to see what this leads to, because this really is a groundbreaking main event in terms of how good it was, but also a groundbreaking main event in terms of what it means for all of the dominoes that are going to topple over afterwards. This main event was fantastic. It had my heart racing. The match was great. The drama was fantastic. The storyline swerves were brilliant. Thumbs up. Night 1, it was like mostly like aggressively okay, and then it got real good because of the night 1 main event. Yo, that Vegas crowd, you guys need to get better. You guys sucked. You guys did not help the show at all. But that's it, folks. I'll see you guys in the next one. Again, don't forget the Patreon version of this. I'm done. Get out of here.